Well, the book All Rise covers Dikgang Moseneke's years on the bench, with particular focus on his 15-year term as a judge at South Africa's apex court, the Constitutional Court, that being, including as Deputy Chief Justice. As a member of the team that drafted the interim constitution, Moseneke was well placed to become one of the guardians of its final form. All Rise offers a unique insider's view of how the judicial system operates and, at its best, how it also responds when it's under fire. We're going to be talking to him shortly, but one of the things that people have mentioned about the book, he did a launch a couple of weeks ago at Wits University with the head of legal there, including former Vice-Chancellor Adam Habib, about the process of putting the book together. He also reflects on a particular incident that he thinks was quite poignant for him, being a 15-year-old who was arrested, and the trial that took place there in 1963 at the old Jewish synagogue. And years later, he would come back as a judge, saying that particular moment was quite ironic for him. He also chronicles his time, rather briefly that been at Telkom, and the amount of people and the role players that had a particular focus and a particular strong input in him following that path for joining the judge, that is. But we're going to call him now. Judge Moseneke, are you on the line?
I'm on the line. I was quite happy to talk to you on Zoom, but this seems to be an issue. But I am on the line.
But I'm very happy to have you this afternoon. Let's talk about the journey of putting the book together. It's not often that we see judicial memoirs. What inspired it?
One, the desire to tell our story, because it's my story and our story. And two, it's important to record the judicial function. It is normally in a sort of a cloistered or covered up kind of function. And it's important to write about what judges do when they wake up to go to work. And thirdly, it is important, I think, to restate those vital principles that keep an institution like that working within a democracy. So that all of those put together. And lastly, just recording history. We're a new court, and we have to tell the young and others just what prompted it and how did it fare.
Right. I was telling the viewers how you had a very poignant experience reflecting back on the time when you were incarcerated, and years later having to be a judge at the old synagogue. Tell me about what you would tell your 15-year-old self, having gone through everything that you've experienced since then, and of course been judge.
Well, it would be an interesting conversation, wouldn't it? And I do that conversation in the book, in All Rise in part. Dikgang Moseneke, you would never have, foretold that you will be back here, not as a prisoner, condemned to 10 years, 15 years when you go into Robben Island, and you'll be back as a judge. And you'll be sitting on that very high bench in your own red robes or black and white robes and basically administering justice. So that is something that I never could foretell, not even then. But then the story unfolds from there, where basically I go to Robben Island, study hard, and I tell you a bit about, the quality of the law at the time. So I would say to this 15-year-old, look, all of these things came to pass, but frankly, you didn't know what would happen step by step, and that you'd end up loving so much to be a judge and to write about it for the whole nation.
One of the things you did in the book was play tribute to, some of the founding judges of the Constitutional Court, as well as the female judges, who paved the way, and some might argue that we've forgotten about them. Why was it so important for you to do that?
Yeah, hurrah. I'm happy somebody picked it up. Nobody's asked me about this until you did. It was important to make it clear that this was not a male-centric exercise to build a new judiciary, and that there are foremost ladies, women, and in particular African women, who were out there and who did the job with us. And you see how I painstakingly picked them up to show to you that actually we have very senior women judges and justices who are out there. And for instance, Judge Masi Park was all in front of you, in the Pistorius case. But none of you knew that she was one of the first judges to be appointed in this country after the transition. Or Judge Nabi Pillay, or Judge, for instance, Sisi Kharpete, or Judge. So I list them out there so that we can just slaughter a few misconceptions about issues of gender pride, gender equality, and the full and unmitigated worth of women in our society and in our lives.
Right. The early days of your career, one would say, were quite lonely, especially when you were serving your articles in a law firm that was predominantly white before even starting your own practice. Talk to me about the work you're doing in order to inspire other, legal professions and young judges who are stepping into that particular space right now.
You see, the book actually have a picture of me opening the Judicial Education Institute, and I've actually played that role continuously to train young judges, to address them, provide articles about judgeship, and the book is also about that. It's really meant for young lawyers, but also young judges, and who can look and see just the journey that I traveled and that many of my colleagues have traveled. So yes, there is a continuous process. It may well be that we need, even an additional institute that would actually continue to do that. That is to inspire young lawyers to assume the roles, and because society needs brilliant, hardworking, and independent judges. We can't run a society without others who would be entitled to competently blow the whistle.
Justice, thank you so much for your time. That is Judge Dikgang Moseneke talking about his book, All Rise, a Judicial Memoir. That's it from me. I'll be back next week, Thursday, with The Alternative Investor. At the top of the hour, we have my colleague Nzinga Gunta with more of your news. Goodbye.